Good morning, dear guests and honorable participants. Welcome to the fourth Culture and Strategies Forum for the Korean Peninsula and the North. This is a follow-up academic international conference. I am Ki Young, the Vice Head of the HK+ National Strategies Research Project Agency at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Glad to meet you. So we'll begin our ceremony by inviting head of our project team, Professor Kang Jun-young, to deliver his welcome speech, please.
Okay. Good morning, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kang Jun-young. I'm the head of the HK+ National Strategic Research Project Agency at the Center for International Area Studies, Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Since the National Research Foundation of Korea selected us for the Humanities Korean Plus, HK+ project in May 2020, our agency made significant strides in expanding traditional cooperation and communication with northern regions through cultural exchanges. This effort is grounded in the agenda. Searching for the supranational cooperation and communications, identifying the context with northern culture and building a cultural hub for the creation of unification-friendly circumstances. Our ongoing efforts have culminated in the Culture and Strategies Forum for the Korean Peninsula and the North, a platform that took its first step on April 8, 2021, and has now reached its first instrument, this forum, a significant catalyst for cultural and strategic discussions, has been enriched by your invaluable expertise as governmental officials, diplomats, scholars, and business leaders, cultural artists, and related experts from multiple fields. Your participation has been instrumental in making this event a success and is fostering the crucial cooperation and communication we need. The first forum, especially today's follow-up international conference, has selected the theme, Facing the New Era, Seeking Supranational Solidarity in the Return of Great Power Competition. This theme reflects an attempt to explore the path we must take in today's world, which is filled with complexity and uncertainty, where it is difficult to predict even the near future. The barriers, armed conflicts, economic disputes, and chronic international migration issues occurring around the globe at this very moment underscore the importance of geopolitical and geoeconomic considerations and strategic choices. We desperately need to have deeper discussions about what our strategy should be based on. This follow-up international conference, with the participation of various experts, will provide a critical opportunity for in-depth discussions on the cultural and strategic relationships between Korea and the world and future cooperation. I sincerely hope that today's conference will not only be a significant step toward fostering cooperation and communication between the different regions, but also a beacon of hope for future collaborations, ultimately contributing to world peace and instilling a sense of hope and optimism in all of us. Several individuals and organizations are to be thankful for hosting this forum. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the Institute of Middle East Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies for their invaluable support in co-hosting this international conference with our project agency. My thanks also go to Dr. Kim Hyun-wook, the president of Sejong Institute, who graciously agreed to give the keynote speech despite his busy schedule. I also express my special gratitude to the presenters and panelists from Kazakhstan, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Italy and Japan, who traveled from afar to participate in the conference, and various domestic and international presenters and panelists. Lastly, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the participants and collaborators who have worked tirelessly to prepare for this international conference. Your individual contributions, whether large or small, have not gone unnoticed, and I declare the opening of follow-up international conference of the Culture and Strategies Forum for the Korean Peninsula and the North of 2024 with deep appreciation for your efforts. Your contributions have been invaluable and are deeply appreciated. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Head. Well, actually, we have invited scholars and experts from 8 different countries. But unfortunately, a participant from Azerbaijan and a participant from Kyrgyzstan could not make their promise because something unexpected difficulties happened to them. So we are sorry about that. But instead of them, we could have invited our prestigious keynote speaker, the president of Sejong Institute, Dr. Kim Hyun-wook. So I'd like to invite him to the podium for his keynote speech. Please welcome him with a big applause.
Thank you so much. Very honored to have an opportunity to deliver a keynote speech today. The theme of today's speech is current international system and supranational cooperation. I thank Professor Kang Junyoung, head of HK National Strategies Research Project Agency, and I also thank Professor Jung Gi-hoon for hosting this conference today. International system is now facing an inflection point. After the end of Cold War, the US-centered global system has faced 2 inflection points. The first one was the September 11th terrorist attack. After this attack, the US homeland was terrored. Before it was regarded as a bulwark against external threat. The September 11th terrorist attack was an attack from inside, not from outside. And it was an attack from non-governmental terrorist group, not a state actor. So the United States, after this attack, changed its national security strategy paradigm. It changed its defense strategies, and the United States began to ask allies to contribute to the United States security policy. The second inflection point, I think, was 2008 global financial crisis. The United States hegemonic status became weaker, and after this financial crisis, the global system changed from unipolar to bipolar system. The China began to rise, and Chinese policy towards the United States began to change. Hu Jintao of China began to pursue equal partnership with the United States. And from my perspective, the US Obama government's foreign policy, China policy, and North Korea policy was a mess. The United States could not respond properly to challenges from China and North Korea. Third and current inflection point, I think, is US-China competition. After Trump came into power in 2017, he began to demonize China and began to shift the US public opinion towards anti-Chinese sentiment. He put the China-US competition as an ideological and regime competition, and this trend still continues. In fact, I think China bashing worked. After COVID is over, China's economy is getting worse. China is experiencing low demand and high debt problem and demographic problem and US-China decoupling and Chinese politics by Xi Jinping is making the Chinese economy worse. After summertime last year, the United States posed its relationship with China as a managed competition. Managed competition means that the United States began to manage the Chinese situation. The US began to think that the United States put the dominance over China in its competition with China and needed to manage Chinese situations. Of course, China still has very high degree of technology on key industries. Chinese semiconductor, electrical vehicle, batteries, smartphones are still quickly developing. What we need to take note is two scenarios. First, whether Chinese high-tech industry can be a basis for economic development of China in the near future, or Chinese economic system, Chinese economic situation would be a hurdle for further high-tech development of China. We don't know which one will be the future of China. Next, I think there are several characteristics of current US-China competition. Current international system is experiencing three characteristics, I think. First characteristic is that United hegemony is getting weaker. Joseph Nye talked about the Kindleberger trap. He mentioned that the reason why there was a 1930s economic recession, global economic recession, is because the United States could not provide the public goods. No, Britain could not provide public goods to the international community. And the United States did not take a role of next hegemon at the time. So when there was no hegemon, the global system becomes a chaos and there is instability. Now the US hegemony is getting weaker. The US GDP is only 24%. It used to be 40% in 1960s. In order to get focused on Taiwan contingency, the United States withdrew forces from Afghanistan and is not participating in Ukraine war and is not very actively participating in Israeli-Palestinian war. Second characteristics of current international system, I think, is the increase of nuclear threats. Vladimir Putin mentioned a possible use of nuclear weapons in the Ukraine war, the use of non-strategic nuclear weapons. The Obama government signed a New START treaty with Russia during his term, but Russia began to develop non-strategic nuclear weapons, and President Trump also began to develop non-strategic nuclear deterrent capability. Now, New START treaty is over. All these situations is a big concern to Asian countries. Asian countries ask questions. What are the measures to deal with possible use of nuclear weapons by China or North Korea? Do we have any massive conventional weapons in this area? The US forces have any nuclear weapons or massive conventional weapons to deal with possible use of nuclear weapons by Russia, China, or North Korea? Especially Japan has high concern because it is very closely located to Taiwan Island. As Mearsheimer put in 1991 in his article, Why We Will Soon Miss the Cold War, the entire world is entering a nuclear era. 30 characteristics of current international system, I think, is that there's no country that could replace the United States. Chinese economy is big, but it is not stable now. China does not have democratic political situation, political system. And China cannot be mingled with other countries of the world easily. Totalitarian regime-based values cannot provide international norms and order that rest of the world can agree upon. Chinese economy and technology cannot be enough assets for global leadership. And I think the end point of current US-China competition will give high degree of uncertainty to international community. In this vein, supranational cooperation is becoming very important. There's no hegemonic stability. Hegemonic instability is becoming large. As the US hegemonic status becomes weaker, there emerges more uncertainty in international community. As a state's dependency on the United States become weaker, global norm making will be more difficult, and international community will experience more regional conflicts. I hope that today's conference can make a big contribution to current international situation. And we want to contribute to how we can substantially strengthen supranational cooperation. I think Robert Gilpin has written a book called, no, it's not Robert Gilpin, it's Joe Nye and two scholars, I forgot the names. After Hegemony, very famous book.
Cohen.
Yeah, Cohen. The essence of the book was that as the US hegemony gotten weaker in 1970s, the international norms could have some rules and norms and roles of the United States. But do we have such norms that can replace the hegemonic stability? I think if there is anything, that could be supranational cooperation. Countries that have interests on international communities' peace and stability should gang together. And how we can solve current global problems through supranational cooperation would be a big homework for us to solve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President Kim Hyun-ho. His speech made me remind of a famous saying by a poet. After the world collapsed, everything turned into a wall. So that raised the need of supranational solidarity, and this is why we selected the theme of this conference, Facing the New Era, Seeking Supranational Solidarity in the Return of Great Power Competition. So let this be the end of the opening ceremony, and we will take a group picture all together, and then we will go into the first session. Thank you.